Welcome back to the Barrels Talk podcast. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We're going to be building an NBA roster in today's age around an NBA great. Got this idea from JJ Redick. He did it with Michael Jordan and Shaq. Thought it would be interesting if we could kind of take those rules, kind of do it here with some other NBA greats that I think would be interesting to build around in today's age. So we're going to start this off with Tim Duncan. So JJ Redick based this off of averaging out the top salaries in the league for teams. So he got $195 million to spend on a 9-man rotation. So I have a couple players, couple greats that I've done for future episodes. So looking at this, we're going to be doing Tim Duncan today, and we're going to be building a team around Tim Duncan in today's age. So looking at team needs, looking at what I think a team with the face being Tim Duncan would need in today's game. Pick and roll, guard that can score, get his own buckets whenever he needs to, somebody that can be an elite option with Tim Duncan in the pick and roll. A big that can shoot and give space. We're going to be playing Tim Duncan at the 4 like he was throughout his prime years for the most part. Looking at a big that can space and can also defend, making sure that front court defense is locked down, but can also space so we can give the ball on the block to Tim Duncan, let him go to work. And then a big man, a 6-man that can be a spark plug off the bench. We're also building around some defense, some shooting. So looking at this, Tim Duncan, so I have him making $47 million this season. Kind of doing it when I do a guard in future episodes, when I do a wing, kind of comparing that salary to the best player's salary at the league. So if Nikola Jokic this season is making $47 million. Compare that, Tim Duncan's going to be making $47 million just for the sake of this. Looking at this, it's actually a lot harder than I thought this was going into it, just because I'm looking at fit, looking at the teams in today's age, trying to compete what they would need to compete with those. Because looking at today's age, I mean, you got a team where you got like the Celtics, and you got potentially like 4, maybe 5 All-Stars depending on the year. You're looking at the Bucks; they have 2 damn near top 10 players in the league almost, depending on who you're talking to. Looking at how deep the league is, looking at how interesting this is going to be. So starting out Tim Duncan at our power forward, we're going to go ahead and knock out our big that can space the floor, score on his own a little bit, and split lineups with Tim Duncan's on our bench, or Tim Duncan's in the lineup and this person's off the bench. Karl-Anthony Towns, perfect comparison to put next to a Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan can hold it down defensively, one of the best defensive bigs of all time. Yes, he is. He's top defensive big of all time. That's for the OGs. Only OGs go get that one. Karl-Anthony Towns can space the floor, perfect fit next to Tim Duncan, can also get his own. And Karl-Anthony Towns, I could have went with somebody like Miles Turner, thinking about a cheaper option, but I wanted to get Karl-Anthony Towns because he's more skilled on the perimeter. So my idea of thinking about this is 4 out 1 in, put Tim Duncan on the block, have 4 guys on the perimeter that can space and shoot the ball at a high clip. So I'm looking at this, looking at Karl-Anthony Towns. He likes to play on the perimeter. Put him, you could really go 4 or 5 with him and Tim Duncan, interchangeable. I think he's the perfect fit because he's a 50-40-90 at the big spot. You give Tim Duncan space for no other big, and you can't sag off of Karl-Anthony Towns. Tim Duncan's going to have all the room he needs to go to work, and he's going to get his against whoever is defending him in the league, especially in today's game. Looking at my point guard, so that's $36 million for Karl-Anthony Towns. Point guard, Jalen Brunson. Somebody who can operate in that pick and roll, go get it done on his own when he needs to. Like that him and Tim Duncan pick and roll. If you can't run drop coverage, Jalen Brunson can come off, bam, spray one from 3, get into that mid-range area, cause havoc in there. Perfect steady guard next to Tim Duncan. That's $26 million right there. Looking at our shooting guard, I was thinking more. Could have won a couple options here. I was thinking somebody alongside Jalen Brunson and Tim Duncan and Cat that can really get nasty, defend, take tough assignments, tough matchups. That's where I really went in my 2 and my 3 spot. Alex Caruso, $9 million. Crazy elite level contract for what he gives you defensively. Spot up shooter, can knock the 3 ball down when he needs to, but more so he's here for his defense. Looking at the 3, went with an interesting option here. There's a couple other easy options, but I went with somebody who can also play really well off of stars, that's what we've seen from him. Has played with somebody on this team, and now looking at it, somebody that can kind of create his own shot better than I feel like some other guys I could have went with at this 3 spot. A little bit more expensive. Andrew Wiggins. We've seen Andrew Wiggins at the peak of his powers with the Warriors, being able to play nicely off of Steph Curry. Feel like he can do the same here with Tim Duncan and the Jalen Brunson and the Karl-Anthony Towns. Looking at what he can bring you defensively on the rebounding side of things. He can score the ball when needed. He's a great slasher, cutter off Tim Duncan. I feel like he is somebody who can really just do everything you need on both sides of the ball next to a Tim Duncan and a Karl-Anthony Towns. But right now, we got Tim Duncan, $47 million, Karl-Anthony Towns, $36 million, Andrew Wiggins, $24 million, Caruso, $9 million, Jalen Brunson, $26 million. That's our starting 5. So we're building a 9-man rotation off this. So when I'm looking at the 6-man spot, I'm looking at somebody who can kind of fill that Andrew Wiggins role. So when we run a smaller lineup, put Tim Duncan at the 5, we can have somebody that can come in and play bigger than what he is. Perfect Josh Hart. Josh Hart's the perfect person for this. The $13 million is going to be our 6th man, if you will. Looking at Josh Hart, he can really guard 1 through 4, some 5s in the league. Perfect fit. He's got crashed offensive glass. He can hit big shots. He can cut. He's playmaker a little bit whenever you need him to. Perfect Swiss Army knife guy that can complement Wiggins kind of in that same light with Tim Duncan. $13 million right there. And now I'm thinking of somebody that can also be a threat in the pick and roll, that can go get it and can defend maybe a little bit better than Jalen Brunson. Looking at Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder can be a pest defensively. He can operate in the pick and roll. He's a big-time player in my eyes. When I see Dennis Schroeder, he's been in big-time situations. Him at $12 million off my bench, perfectly fine with that. Looking at a big off my bench that can just be a big body, that can rebound, catch some lobs, be a force in the paint, right? Say Karl-Anthony Towns gets in foul trouble, we need to get a different look. Zubac, perfect fit, kind of instilling that like Thiago splitter next to Tim Duncan, kind of when they had those two in the front court for the Spurs. Somebody who can block some shots, do all the little bit of dirty work, and Tim Duncan can space a little bit in that mid-range. And then looking at my last roster spot, looking at kind of somebody who can do a little bit of everything. Scrappy. I need some more shooting if I need it. Max Strus, $14 million. Zubac was at $11 million. Max Strus at $14 million. Feel like he can space the floor. He's got to give max effort defensively. He can cut. He's a great person to play off the ball. Doesn't need the ball to be effective. Feel like he gives them a nice little shooting spark off that bench. So looking at the total team we have here for building around Tim Duncan, we have Tim Duncan at our 4, Karl-Anthony Towns at our 5, Andrew Wiggins at our 3, Alex Caruso at our 2, Jalen Brunson at our 1, 6-man Josh Hart, Dennis Schroeder off my bench, Zubac off my bench, Max Strus off my bench. This is team total goes up to $192 million. 192, so we're $3 million under the mark. Could have went a couple different options building around Tim Duncan. I kind of wanted to get creative with it, kind of have some fun with it, but you should probably expect more videos like this coming in the future about kind of just building around NBA grades, kind of mixing them in with current NBA talent, seeing how it goes and having fun with it. But thank you guys for tuning in to the Barrel Talk podcast. Hope you see you tune in to future episodes.